This is the network service of the NTA.
As a creative person, you have an informal responsibility to galvanize positive action for growth and development of your country. Are you in the media? Whether you're in fashion, entertainment, are you acting? Are you producing? Are you directing? What are you using your talent and skill for? Today our spotlight is on the Nigerian movie industry and their contribution to national development. They have an enormous role, whether they realize it or not, to also stabilize people, to galvanize them as a positive force, to ensure that all hands are on deck, to grow our country, to support government in all spheres, and to impact positively and to focus on direction that brings about growth and development. And that's why we're bringing them to the fore today. We'll be looking at their creativity, how they highlight our diverse cultures. There's been talk about piracy. Is it deeply affecting the growth of the Nigerian movie industry? How much, how far, when did it start, and what is being done? Welcome. It's Weekend Deal, as we are every weekend at this time. We thank you for welcoming us to your living room and to your homes, and want to ask you to stay with us all through the program. My name is Thelma Obaz, and watching Weekend Deal, and it's time to tread ground with Francis. Francis went, spoke with people, did more research on the Nigerian movie industry and its synergy or its contribution to national development over time. Francis, let's see this.
Nigeria's film industry, affectionately known as Nollywood, is indisputably diversifying the nation's economy by creating jobs in a country that depends principally on oil and agriculture. The industry is also known to be the most popular on the African continent.
After the era of the military, it was actually Nollywood that fine-tuned and landed the image of the country to the outside world. Because when we started this democracy, everybody was trying to see that it would work, it would blend. And Nollywood played a major role in showcasing that, putting it on the front burner and making people believe that democracy is the best thing that will happen to a country like ours. And in that, it also helped to put so many people, out of the streets. When Nollywood started, it was something everybody wanted to be on the screen. And like when it moved to Enugu, most of the retirees that were there in Enugu, many of them joined Nollywood, and they don't have to lazy at home. And it makes so many people come out, and it put food on the table of so many.
No nation has been able to achieve development without proactive promotion of its essential cultural component. And this is true because culture is an integral aspect of the life of a people. Much of the Americanization of the world is due to the fact that Hollywood movies emphasizes, promotes, and projects the American people and nation in a form that must appeal to the viewers. Thus, from watching Hollywood movies, the tendency to be American is developed.
I was in India 2 years ago, and when I went to Mumbai, I was hosted by the Producers Association. of India. And they made me understand that the government every year bring out a certain amount of money. If you have anything that has to do with the country, come. If you have anything that has to do with the culture, come. They give it as not loan. So most of the people that they are allowed to run Nollywood are businessmen. And to them, there's no good news like bad news. America, for every war film they do, America always win. So you know that America is indefeatable. You can't do Nigerian film when the government is not supporting you. Most of the times we want to do police film, we have to beg for clothes, beg for arms. We can't get it. That's why you see somebody going to arrest somebody with a baton, a criminal, and police will say we are misinterpreting them. It's because we don't have the props to interpret that rule very well. If the government will, for real, put their eyes into Nollywood, we can change so many things.
Film is used to popularize government policies and ideologies among the masses. Owing to its ability to hold and capture audience, films are used more than any other means of mass communication to promote ideas of positive social transformation, as well as to consolidate and build new relationships.
So many governments want to start selling their policies through entertainment. If it's a policy for 3 years, they'll start putting it on the screen. Then, at the point, by the time it comes out, every other person feel that it's usual. It's like that. Before Obama became president, if you watch 24, there's a film 24. They start selling a black president into the minds of people, into the consciousness of people. And it worked. So, if the government wants things to sell, because there's no way you can give me money and I'll tell a bad story about you, let them start investing. It's still on record that if you go around the world, the second largest is in the amount of movies being produced. So India is the first, Nollywood is the second, before Hollywood and others. It's on the number of movies being produced yearly. And I told you, I say India is achieving their own feat because they have government support. We don't. And we are still coming second in the number of films we produce.
Nollywood films have gained widespread prominence, especially within the African continent. Even today in Nigeria, we have variations in the Nollywood industry.
There are associations, then there are these woods. The other woods that are coming are still nomenclatures. Everybody's trying to say, oh, we have something that is, showing. But the general name, whether you're Kannywood, whether you're Idoma Wood, whether you're Igbo Wood, all of them still have associations that propel all those things.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on x-raying the contributions of the movie industry to national development.
Thank you, Francis. Indeed, the Nigerian movie industry has a very sensitive role to play in national development, in that we must replicate our society in the best way so that people locally and internationally can learn best practices and we can bond together. We need to promote unity and togetherness as well as celebrate our diverse cultures. NTA Abuja is taking a look at the Nigerian movie industry and gender sensitivity.
As the 20th century ended, research showed that Nigerian movies were filled with negative and stereotyped images of women. Women have suffered and are still suffering from stereotype representation, where they are often portrayed in roles that depict them as set objects, witches, weak, evil, which creates the wrong impression in minds of viewers.
It is the character value that is absent that today people tend to see, the actors playing movie as, if it is a female actor, they tend to see them as prostitutes. Simply because the way they dress and the way they behave.
I think it has to do with the writers, because the kind of scripts that you write, then I think if they start writing a better script and seeing how it works out.
They are the ones that are good at the part. Yes, women are good in that witchy part of it and the rest. I don't think it's supposed to be a problem.
This stereotype representation of women in Nollywood movies has attracted criticism from the society, with feminists clamoring for a review of the way women are projected and why movie producers and scriptwriters are guilty of the negative portrayal of women.
How women are depicted in movies falls on the creative, the person who is bringing the story to life. And then when stories are coming to life, there are a lot of things involved when it comes to movies. There's the marketability of the movie, the viability in the market, and the returns on investment for whoever is producing, the movie. Acting is a way of taking on a character that is not you, but you're playing that character or that role to a point that it is believable that this is you, and people can, the experience can resonate with whoever is watching, so it's believable. The person can actually feel what you're trying to put across, and because of that, a lot of creatives have gone the extra mile to make sure that they can make it look as believable as possible. What does a real life prostitute look like? But how do I make my audience believe that this is a prostitute? You understand? So you have to play it, how the person is dressed, how the person exposes his body, how he behaves, he's smoking a cigarette, and all that. So you take the character of a real life prostitute and then you put it in the movie. The issue of witchcraft is not new to us. In fact, sometimes every little thing that happens to you, the first thing you think of is witches that are pursuing me. But yes, I think we overflog it on this end. And instead of it to educate people, sometimes it instills fear. And it corrupts people, or even gives people the wrong ideas about how they should live their life. You shoot a movie, it probably doesn't need a half-naked woman, but you need to just play in that role so that people want to watch it, because people want to see some skin. But how is it affecting society? Is it helping us or it's not? So I believe that the bunch of the work still falls on the creative, the person who is creating the story and the director who is bringing the story to life. Where do we find a crossroad or the common ground between telling a good story and also taking into consideration how that story make women look? How do it objectifies them in society? Because trust me, one thing I know about the audience is that we never can tell the difference between fact and fiction. That's why when you watch a movie, somebody plays a wicked role, you start hating the person in real life because you think that is how the person is. There are some people who play roles, you can swear that this is how they are, and all that. So people sometimes forget that you're playing a role and think that is who you are. So I think it's for us creatives to start working on how we tell our stories. We can tell amazing stories and still take into consideration the fact that there's a thin line between our stories educating people or destroying people.
Young girl, don't you know it's not advisable to fetch water from this stream by this time of the day?
Thank you, NTA Abuja. Nigerian movie industry, interesting, growing, but we must pay more attention to stereotypes and be very sensitive about gender. Tell believable stories. Directors, work with your actors to ensure that role interpretation and role play is done well so that new agendas and narratives can be set. It's an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity this day to talk with a veteran in the Nollywood industry, Nigerian movie industry, Chief Pete Edochie, MON. Congrats.
Thank you.
We're talking now with Chief Pete Edochie. Many Nigerians know of him. He's played different roles in over 100, 200 movies. And we continue to see how he exhibits dignity, talent, skill, authority, and knowledge. Not just about movie making, but about role interpretation, diverse cultures, and a real mentor for many in the industry. Chief Edochie, great to have the opportunity to chat with you. What has kept you going, sir? What has kept you going, sir?
Very much for all your very kind sentiments. The good Lord has kept me going, and of course the affection of the people around me, how I relate to them and they reciprocate, and dedication to my duty. I mean, that's my job, so I work extremely hard to ensure that I remain relevant. I'm always learning. That's what has kept me going. I learn each day, and I struggle to ensure that I put into practice what I learn. And so when I go to shoot my movies, whatever I must have picked up in the process helps my interpretation. I think that's about all. Nothing else, yeah.
Quite a lot, because when many of us watch you in movies, we know that we're going to enjoy that movie. You make it so believable. You make it so real. For a movie to be authentic, it needs to look real. And that's exactly what we get when we see you in movies. Today we're looking at the Nigerian movie industry and its role in national development. Would you say our movie industry is playing a role in developing Nigeria positively?
Yes, I'll say so. We've been working extremely hard, and we have made some very positive impact on the development of the country. It will not be easy for me to say this is the extent of the impact we have made, because that will be having to assess myself. But the people who watch us can say that this is the contribution we have made. I have a colleague of mine who has this uncanny acumen for extemporaneous aphorisms. What's his name now? Chiwetalago. On one occasion, he was featured in a production, and he kept saying, "Obosi na ajuzo, Obosi na ajuzo." And by the time we went back to Obosi, they had attended to all their roads, and that was because they watched that production and they saw him criticizing them, right? And that's it. I think a lot of people get a lot of inspiration from what we put out, and it gives us a lot of joy when we know that people respond positively. You see, when we shoot our films, the idea is to ensure that we do a didactic critique of some segment of society so that people can learn. We don't just go there, put some seductive content to ensure that we hypnotize our audience. No, that's not what we do. We educate wherever we can, we inform, we entertain, and I think we are doing marvelously well at that. Quite honestly, I think so. Maybe technically, sound-wise, we still have some problems, but we have very good stories, and people appreciate us a lot. If you go outside this country, you'll get what I'm talking about. We have conquered the world. I want to say it with plenty of pride. Yes, we have. Because wherever you go to now and you put on a red cap, anywhere in the world, the first question I'm going to ask you is, do you know Chief Ed? Do you know Chief Edochie? And I think I'm very proud of it. So I think we are doing very well. We are doing marvelously well, I can say so, yeah. Marvelously well, I can say.
Chief Edochie, one would say that we ought not to rest on our oars. When things are going well, they say the reward for hard work and success is more hard work. What areas ought we to focus on now? Because now it's no longer an African competition. We're on the global stage. People know of Nigeria and our creative industry. What area of this genre now are we set to conquer? So be sure that Nigeria, our movies, are set, well situated on the global platform. Some say it's our technical know-how.
We require to do a lot of collaborative productions with our transatlantic counterparts. That way we'll be projected onto the public view internationally. That's what we're required to do. And in that regard, the government has got to assist us. You see, we do most of these films with very small budget. And because of that, the target audience is localized. But if we pick up a topic that we think will attract international attention, then we are beginning to record giant strides. For example, now, in 1803, 75 Igbos drowned themselves in America because they wanted to resist servile bondage. They were tricked into a slave ship. They did not know that they were going to be sold as slaves. And when it turned out to be that way, they said, no, let's keep our honor. And they drowned themselves rather than be slaves. It shows that we have a culture that is very strong. Again, it was demonstrated in Things Fall Apart when Okonkwo decided to hang himself rather than allow himself to be captured by the white man. Now, if we want to do a production that will give us an Oscar, that is the kind of film we should do, but it will cost a lot of money. If the government does not come in to assist, there is no way we can do something like that. I have the story. It's a wonderful story, but I can't do it on my own. No. I know that if we manage to do it, it's going to get a lot of attention to the country and a lot of money as well. Genevieve did her best when we did Obiago. She went quite far. The only reason why she did not approach the Oscars was because it was not done in vernacular, right? If we are going to shoot this one, it's going to be in vernacular. And when we do it, because the story is gripping, is convincing, and it is real, it's going to touch a lot of people. That is the kind of thing I think we ought to be doing now. We have told our own story in our own little way. The audience is confined. But about time we expanded the scope of our projections so that people can really say, they are there. But the government has got to be part of it. That's what I'm saying.
That's quite interesting. You say that the government has to be part of it. How much of a part of it are we talking about? How would you expect government to support the Nigerian movie industry?
Money. Money. What else would you like to hear? We have all the talent, everything. The government should give us money, full stop. If they give us the money we require, at the end of it all, when the proceeds begin to come in, the profit and all that, they can take back their money. You know, I can tell you this, I have never done a bad production, and I'm happy about it, right? If we do something like this, the impact will be international, and it will rake in a lot of foreign currency. I know that, and because I have explored the market, I have made contacts. All we require is take off, and in order to do that, there will be white people to come and join us, right? So the government has got money, that's money, that's it.
We do hear about a CBN, that's the Central Bank of Nigeria, intervention fund for the Nigerian movie industry. Is it something you have taken note of and approached?
I'll be very honest with you. I have not tried it. I have not. I hear that there's too much to do to get that money. And at my age, I don't want to subject myself to too much stress, plenty of trauma just to acquire. I have credibility that is diaphanous. I mean, anybody who knows me will tell that I'm a very straightforward person. I have impeccable character. You can't associate me with scandals and all that. I live my life so very well that if I require money for something, I don't have to go through thorns and thistles to get that money. That's it. if it will be easy to acquire that intervention fund, I will begin to work towards it now that I've mentioned it here. And people like you should assist me too, because I don't know how to move around. I don't. I can sit down and talk, and I can talk very persuasively. If that will get me the fund, I can do it from here, but I think I have to run around there a lot to get it, yeah. You have to run around there a lot. Yeah. You have to run around there a lot.
Thank you very much for talking with us candidly. Our conversation is not over. We would like to bring a feature to the fore that talks about the creativity of the Nigeria movies, especially some of the ones we have talked about. And Tete Ayuba has been pursuing that angle. Tete, show us.
Even before the term Nollywood was coined, the local film industry was in existence, although at a smaller scale that catered to an immediate demographic. Specifically, it was more indigenous in nature, pioneered by the likes of the late Hubert Ogunde. But through the decades, the Nigerian film industry has grown in quality and quantity to cater to a more diverse and international audience, largely due to digitalization, technology, and accessibility.
Certainly there has been some improvements, a sizable jump in creativity and in productivity in the Nigerian film industry, largely because the tools that make for productivity and for creativity, there's been more access to those tools. So are we talking about hardware or software? More filmmakers and more industry participants are gaining easier access to these tools. However, in comparison with other movie industries, we would say that we are still behind in terms of how we then use those tools to deliver world-class experience for non-Nigerians, which is essentially what we are talking about here. It's easy to appreciate the Koreans because, even if we don't understand the language, we are able to appreciate the creativity and the productivity that goes into their products, because they've been able to use their tools, the tools at their disposal, to be able to speak in what you could then say or call a universal language of film. For now, the people who watch Nigerian films are Nigerians in diaspora and Nigerians at home, mostly, and maybe people who have affiliations with Nigerians. But we need to then move the industry beyond these affiliations or this we are watching it, or people, Nigerians in diaspora watching it, to people who have no affiliations with us, to be able to see this story and appreciate this story for what it is, and not just because it's a Nigerian film.
Speaking of sentiments, some critics have blamed sentimentality and nepotism as a major hindrance for improvement in the sector, where the wrong people are given the right opportunities.
In every industry, anywhere in the world, people always band together. So certain filmmakers will work with only certain people, whether it's those who are in the technical side of things or those who are in the arts side of things. So I don't necessarily see that as a wrong concept. What I think we need to curtail is giving people jobs that they don't deserve just because of our friendship or our relationships with them. If I have a cameraman who I've built a relationship with over years and he has consistently delivered, why not? I'll give him that job every single time. However, if I have a friend who is a cameraman and I'm just giving that friend a job simply because he's my friend when he can't deliver, then that's where it's wrong. So I don't have a problem with people banding together and creating small communities within the industry. It only makes for better understanding, quick work. People understand how each other work, But as the case is with all sectors of the economy, give people who deserve the job.
So, what then lies in store for the Nigerian film industry in the future?
According to PricewaterhouseCoopers, Global Entertainment and Media Outlook for 2020 to 2024, the media and entertainment industry is regarded as the fastest growing sector of the economy, contributing, expected to contribute up to 2.5, 2.6% of the GDP. So this is not an industry we can just wish away, or or just wish would grow by itself. It has grown by itself, but now we need investments. Now we need, the deliberate injection of capital, to make things work. So it's training. We need more training in the industry. We need more investments in the industry, because without investments, a film that should take, say, a year to develop would take a month, because people just want to, put in their money quick and get it back quickly, because the volume of investments isn't that much to wait that long. There are two things that largely becomes responsible for films being successful: the product itself, which is the film, and the marketing mix. We don't often have strong marketing strategies to promote our films, even the very good ones, abroad. And until we do that, we cannot attract the likes of the big film distributors, the Universals, the Sonys, the Columbia, and the likes.
Here's hoping to see our movies being showcased, nominated, and hopefully winning prestigious awards like the Oscar Award in the nearest future.
Thank you, Ayuba Tete. That's talking about the creativity and the quality of our movies in our industry. We will continue our conversation with Chief Pete Edochie, MON. Ayuba raised some questions there, and we'll just align it with our direction of questioning at this time. Chief Edochie, sir, some are of the opinion that Nollywood, the Nigerian movie industry, is responsible for glamorizing quick and easy money. And this is having a negative impact on our youths in Nigeria today, as many of us have seen with the constant rise of ritual killings. What do you say, sir?
Just before I proceed to answer that, I want to just express my grievance over some developments lately. I was invited by the BBC Igbo service for a town union production. At the end of it all, the social media jumped on Peter Edochie. Oh, Tinubu is too old to contest. Tinubu is... I don't know where they got all that from. It was not part of what we discussed, and actually it's making me want to swear that I will never honor any invitation again, because I don't want to be misrepresented. Having said that, let me come to what you've just asked me. A lot of people watch films, and what they take out is what they have in their minds. There was something we read in school, I think elementary school, I don't remember now, but 6 blind men of Hindustan went to see an elephant. 6 blind men of Hindustan went to see an elephant, all right? The first person grabbed the tail. Oh, it's so woolly. The other person, the tusk, it's so hard. One touched the body, it's so rough, etc. 6 of them now went home with different impressions of the elephant. And this is precisely what happens when people watch our movies. Yes, they have always said we are encouraging rituals and all that stuff. Have you ever watched any movie of ours where we blew up a train? No. It happened a few days ago. Have you ever watched any movie of ours where we went to the airport on motorbike and circling any aeroplane? No. Why am I using these examples? You see, there is something called the law of individual dualism in nature. You find something good, then juxtaposed is something bad. Every human being has got those elements within him, the good and the bad. If you create circumstances that will challenge the human being, the bad aspects of it manifest. If you create one that will conduce to genial development, the good aspects manifest. There is no way we can run away from these things, right? We create problems. Look, being a Nigerian is a full job. That is on its own, right? It's a full-time job that you're a Nigerian. Let me tell you what I mean by that. We became independent in 1960, if you remember. I know you were not born then. From that moment till now, we've not been able to supply light to our people. Why? Whereas before the war, here in Enugu, Oji River was supplying light to the entire eastern Nigeria using coal. The coal is still there. It's not being used. I'm only giving you this example for you to know that it's the circumstances you create that challenge the ingenuity in men and compel them to either go toward the left or toward the right. If you get a glass of water, fill it halfway. An optimist will tell you it is half full. A pessimist, it is half empty. Both of them are right. So again, it depends on what you have in your mind. This is what matters. A lot of people watch our movies. They don't want to see the moral at the end of it. All these rituals you see in movies and the ritualists themselves, how do they end up? There is no movie that has ever glorified rituals and ritualists, none. At the end of the day, all the ritualists and the rituals and their altars, everything is destroyed. Every single one of them. Haven't you noticed that? So anybody coming to tell you that they watch our films and so crime is on the increase, oh come on. That's not fair. That's not constructive. That's not objective. Right? You see, I'll tell you this. When we were kids growing up in Zaria, we always went to watch cowboy films. John Wayne, Dean Martin, Robert Mitchum, Gregory Peck, you know. Each time these cowboys sat down, they would be rolling something to smoke. I told my colleagues then, they are smoking tobacco. They said no, they are smoking hemp. So what happened? My colleagues now turned around and started smoking hemp. I stuck to cigarette. The hemp they smoked destroyed all of them. As a matter of fact, I'm the only person surviving today of all those guys. But we were watching the same films. They preferred to feel that what the cowboys were smoking was marijuana, hemp. But I knew it was tobacco they were rolling, right? But we were watching the same films. I'm only trying to let you know that it is not what we put out that compels people to take to crime or is responsible for increasing crime. No. There is no conscious effort to elevate crime to the level of an enviable art on our part. There's nothing like that. We condemn crime wherever it manifests itself, right? So if you say, well, people watch rituals and they want to do all those things, come on. We are creating impossible circumstances for individuals and they want to survive. It is survivalism that is compelling them to experiment with the negative. Let us be very, very honest. We have oil. We don't have petrol. We have gas. We don't have diesel. We have refineries. They are not working. Listen. You see, we run away from the truth a lot. Look for a ready peg on which to hang our failures, right? I don't belong to that group. I was raised properly under very puritanical circumstances. As I will tell you the truth. Let us create circumstances that will challenge the ingenuity of our individuals. They will come out and prove themselves. Nollywood is not encouraging anybody to go towards crime or rituals. No, we are not. Crime has always been there. It is worsening because people can't eat. They can't survive. A lot of people come to my place. The next thing they do is they want to charge their phones. Why? Because they can't afford light. That's not very good. Like, if we have light, people can create little industries in their houses. They can learn to sew, they can cobble. These things are not, oh, come on. Don't blame Nollywood for that. Please don't. scholar. Did I make an impression?
I listened with rapt attention. I've been talking with many producers and actors in the course of putting this package together. Many of us have been. Many of the features you got to see in the program so far showed discussions with some participants in the industry. And most of them are of the opinion that the Nigerian movie industry is being judged too harshly. That is as it may be. You know, they often say that many of these people don't watch the movies to the end where the moral lessons are. We are now of the opinion, bring the moral lessons to the beginning of the movies, or let the lessons be featuring constantly. Let's not often have to wait to the end to learn that what that man has been doing for an hour or two is actually bad. Right from the get-go, let us set the tone for the movie, for the conversation, so that those that are watching, that perhaps may not want to watch to the end, will also learn that. Chief, he also mentioned something about the Oji River, some information about coal, things that happened way back. Why are we not seeing movies depicting that? The challenges in our community, in our country, why are we not seeing them? Perhaps some talk about power, some about infrastructure. Why the focus on rituals and quick money? Aren't there other areas where challenges can be highlighted through depiction in our movies? Like the example you gave?
First of all, there's something you said. There's a way of telling a story. We shall not say because you're a lazy audience, we'll go and bring the climax into the middle. You don't tell stories that way, Hari. You don't. You sit down and watch a story. At the end of it all, you nod. You pick up the moral. You pick up the lesson. You have watched a beautiful story, right? Good. There are so many things that are wrong with our politics. If you decide that you are going to spotlight this in our movies, the Censors Board will kill it. I can tell you that authoritatively. Yeah. We are having problems of insecurity all over the country today. If somebody asks you, why is it that we have not had access to the deliberations that were done under Goodluck Jonathan, the deliberations of the confab, what will you say? Because he put this confab together so that at least some of our problems we can solve. But you see, the moment the succeeding government came in, they spiked it. If you want to do a movie now on that confab, you have not seen it. You don't know what it contains. How do you proceed? Okay, right now, we don't have electricity that is permanent. It's always eclectic. It's always epileptic. It's like that. Now, there are 6 geopolitical zones. Supposing we ask each geopolitical zone to provide its own electricity, all this nonsense will end. Don't you think so? I mean, let's think progressively. This nonsense will end. If you open all the seaports in the south and you decongest the ports in Lagos, life will be easier. Most of the young men who are taken to crime today will be employed. So we deliberately ignore most of these things in the name of politics. Then you turn around and want Peter Edochie and his group to reflect this in their productions. What are we going to put out? We are doing our best, right? What are we going to put out? If you do a movie now on headsmen, the Censors Board will stop it. Because some people are going to feel, their sensitivities will be hurt in the process. Listen, I am 75 years old. It's time I told myself the truth. We are not prepared to be told the truth, and that is our problem. But I tell you something. We get to a situation where most of the young men will now decide to express themselves, and it's going to be terrible. Why do you have all this insecurity all over the place? For the first time in our history, a train moving on a permanent way was bombed. It's never happened before, right? I mean, hell, how do you depict that? What can you say is responsible for that, right? So if we accept that we have not provided enough leadership, if we accept that we have introduced divisive factors into our body politic, then we'll begin to realize that there are ways of tackling these things, right? In the process, a lot of people will be given opportunity to express themselves gainfully. And if it begins to happen, most of these things you see will come down. But for as long as you create impossible circumstances and make every day a challenge for survivalism, things like this will continue. And I mean it, every word of what I'm telling you. So you see, the movie industry is ready to highlight a lot of failures of ours constructively, so that our people can say, okay, this is how we are going to tackle it. Remember what I told you earlier on? I said, we critique so that people will understand, right? Unfortunately, sometimes we get misunderstood, and this is where we have a lot of problems. But if you see our criticism as being didactic, you pick something from there, right? But if you don't allow us to include those aspects that feature regularly and that are on the negative, that put us on the first lane to perdition, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? That's the problem we have. So, if you have any suggestions, let me know. I am still active, my brain here. So we'll go and do a script of that.
Thank you, Chief Peter Doche. The media and Nigerian movie industry, we're synergy. We're working together. We're part of the creatives in the country, and we're doing our best to bring the positives forward, because our role as a unifying agent cannot be overemphasized. We've listened to you. Very interesting conversation. We know that one of the challenges that the Nigerian movie industry faces is piracy, and that's why we did a package on it. We did some research, we did our own investigation, and we would like for you to see piracy in the Nigerian movie industry.
No, I'm crazy. Have you got in her phone? She's not picking.
Her phone's with me, ma.
Calm down. Why my daughter has been kidnapped? You want me to calm down?
Nollywood. Nigeria's film industry has generated several billions of dollars for the Nigerian economy and forms one of the largest and highest employers of labor in the country. But there is a serious cancer that plagues the industry: piracy.
The major functions of Nigerian Copyright Commission is to enforce the copyright law, and that enforcement means, well, part of the enforcement really means trying to stop any criminal violations of copyright, which, like we said, is theft. Basically, the law charged us to arrest, investigate, prosecute any criminal violation, any person who has criminally violated copyright. That is to say, people that, for example, reproduce works protected by copyright, people that distribute those illegal products produced work, people that import those illegal produced works. So if you then put a work on the web and and you then allow people to download it and you don't have right to do that, it's as much a crime as somebody who produces a CD and sells out there in the market.
It has never been easy, for a producer, because most of the times you invest so much, then you now see your product flying around everywhere, on the streets or on internet, and you can make it back. That's why sometimes it's even hard for producers to borrow money from the bank, because there are no guarantees that you will be able to sell your product without the pirates.
What they can from them. The industry produces hundreds of thousands of films yearly, one of the highest outputs in the world. However, a lot of income is lost to piracy in the industry, with pirated copies of films getting to the streets for a small fraction of the price just hours after release.
there are sometimes you have a product that you want to sell. Before, what we do is that if you sell a TV right that is not exclusive, then you sell your internet rights, then you sell probably South African rights, American rights. All these rights give you small money, and by the time you gather all this thing, you have enough money to produce another one. But now you find out that a buyer will just say, I'm buying just TV rights, and after 6 months you see it on the internet.
Because of this new trend, the Commission does sometimes like they set up what we call the Online Copyright Inspectors Unit. So this team try to solve the web, try to identify websites where illegal works are hosted without authorization, try to track down where links that allow people to download movies, films online, try to carry out investigation, try to find the registrant, those who are behind this, try to make an arrest of this act. And it does, and indeed do what we call disruptive actions, because there are times you may not be able to find the person behind the website. He can as well be outside the country. So we try to disrupt those websites.
Although Nigerian laws prohibit piracy and copyright infringements, it is nonetheless an illegal thriving business thanks to a combination of inadequate copyright enforcement, a near total lack of prosecution, and corruption in the system generally. In fact, many Nigerians now believe that copyright laws are not enforceable.
The law says all criminal prosecutions are regarded as criminal prosecution. If you must succeed in prosecuting a crime in Nigeria, you must prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. And if you are unable to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt, then that is a problem.
The Nigerian Copyright Commission is attempting to rework the legislation that governs how artists, including filmmakers, are compensated for their work and intellectual property.
If a suspect is convicted, ranges between 1,000 naira to about 5 years imprisonment if the person is found to have committed the offense. It all depends on the circumstances. And then the civil arm of it is simple. The owner of the patented right can as well maintain a civil action asking for damages against whoever has infringed on his patented right.
Apart from adequate legislation that will lead to meaningful compensation for copyrights, deliberate and continuous enforcement of copyright laws must be seen to be sustained to reverse the high rate of theft of intellectual properties, which is crippling the Nigerian film industry.
Thank you, Dio, for your very clear perspective in that regard, talking about piracy and intellectual property in Nigeria. We do hope that we can outgrow this, that those who pirate people's work, people's earnings, they'll find something worthwhile to do in the nearest future. We wrap up our conversation with Chief Pete Edochie, MON, and I would like to ask him, many young people would like to role model themselves after you, men and women, and you told us earlier that you are a man of impeccable character and you talk direct. You mean what you say and you say what you mean. As they yearn to be a part of the Nigerian movie industry in different areas, what would your words be for them to encourage, to inspire, and to motivate?
First of all, lingua franca in Nigeria is English language. And this is why it's easy for us to communicate among ourselves, because there are so many tribes. Since the medium of communication is still English, let us read exhaustively. Let us read avidly. Let us read extensively. You see, most of our young men don't read. And because you now have phones that produce very bad English, you carry it around, people no longer sit down to read. I am still reading. Anytime you come to my house, there's a novel I'm reading. When I finish, I pick up another. I have too many of them. I have a very, very big library. I spent a lot of money building my library, both for books and classical music. I can tell you that there is no radio station that has more classical music than Peter Edochie in this country. And I mean every word of it, because I've spent a lot of money doing that. For those of the young men who look up to me as a role model, I thank them. They have to work extremely hard. You see, hard work pays. It takes time, but it pays. You know, you cannot duplicate knowledge. The moment it gets into your head, it is there. But it doesn't get there if you don't work towards it, right? I don't watch my films. No, I don't. It's a self-adulation. I don't do all that. People come to tell me that they enjoy what I do, and I say, thank you very much. You see, I don't get impressed by those blandishments, purely because I expect somebody to say, look, Pete, this is something I thought you would have done this way. But it will be difficult for you to say that because I want to come out with something perfect. If you give me a script, I read it, I make my own contributions. Most of those who write the scripts, note you, are very young men. I don't employ their language because it will not befit my age and my status. Therefore, I must ensure that I empathize with the script, swallow it, not to deliver it hook, line, sinker. No, that is not acting, right? Then you must make sure that you give it interpretation. That is what matters most. A lot of the young men forget that we started so many years ago as young men who aspired to be this. We had people who influenced us. In my own case, most of the white people I saw. There's a guy called Sir Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier single-handedly went through Shakespeare. And when I saw him, he inspired me. Today, I have a lot of Shakespeare in my head. I will not reproduce some now because they will not pay me for it. So I want them, to work extremely hard. The moment they work hard, they'll be recognized. And because they have worked hard, it will carry them all through. They can now tell people, I worked hard to get where I am today. Just like I will tell you that I worked hard to get where I am. Remember, I was a broadcaster for 31 years. I was trained by the BBC. Then I retired and got into the movie industry. I retired as the director of programs, right? So I have worked for a long time before I decided to join the industry. Let them work very hard. Let them read. If they want to borrow books, if they can guarantee that they will return those books intact, I can help them. Yeah, that's right. What else can I say? Thank you for this opportunity to say this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being a part of Weekend Deal today. We're here tomorrow bright and early, still talking the Nigerian movie industry and national development. Have a great day.